Speaker Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Herendorf, welcome. I'm sure aware that it was recently said by President Trump, quote, "It was suggested that I use the Federalist Society as a recommending source on judges. I did so, but then realized that they were under the thumb of a real sleazebag named Leonard Leo, a bad person who, in his own way, probably hates America." I want to ask you about this. You're a member of the Federalist Society, correct?
That's correct.
And for how long? For how many years?
I believe I joined in law school, Senator.
So over a decade ago then.
About a decade.
And were you recommended for a judgeship by the Federalist Society?
I have no knowledge of why I was recommended or whether the Federalist Society had any role.
The Federalist Society does, though, recommend judges to the administration, do they not, or did they not?
I had no involvement in that. I'm not sure. I've seen reporting to suggest they had some involvement, but I have no personal knowledge of that, Senator.
Do you think, having been a member of the Federalist Society for over a decade, that they're under the thumb of a real sleazebag named Leonard Leo? Is that your view?
In my perspective, the Federalist Society has been a wonderful place to get together with the many, many lawyers who are members and learn about the law and discuss issues. Aside from my own experience, as a judicial nominee, I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on any public policy debate about the Federalist Society or the particular quotation you're referencing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm your independent political analyst, no spin, no tribalism, just facts, context, and thoughtful commentary. Today we're looking at a Senate Judiciary Committee exchange between Representative Adam Schiff and Judicial nominee Miss Herendorf. And the conversation touches on the Federalist Society, Leonard Leo, presidential influence on the judiciary, and the role of lawyers in politically sensitive cases. Let's unpack what happened and what it might mean.
Do you know Leonard Leo?
I've met him a few times at Federalist Society events, but I wouldn't say that I know him well or that he knows me.
Do you concur with the president's assessment that he's a sleazebag?
Again, Senator, that type of interpersonal or political dispute I don't think is appropriate for me to comment on as a judicial nominee, given that either the president or Mr. Leo could come before me as party to a litigation.
You clerked for Judge Richard Leon, did you not, on the district court?
That is correct.
How would you describe Judge Leon?
When I worked for Judge Leon, I had a wonderful experience. I think he was a judge who treated everybody with fairness and impartiality and was wonderful to his law clerks, and it was a very enjoyable year clerking for him.
And he took his responsibility seriously?
In my experience, yes.
And upheld the law and the Constitution, in your view?
We did our best to do so.
You're aware that he ruled against the administration and against the president with respect to the president's executive order against Wilmer Hale?
I am aware.
Do you agree with Judge Leon's decision that the executive order was unlawful?
That's pending litigation, and it would be very inappropriate for me to express a view on the merits of that litigation or any other active litigation.
Well, no, the president has attacked the Federalist Society because the judges it has recommended don't always do what the president wants. Is that the role of a judge? Is that the role of Judge Leon or any other judge? Would that be your role, to do what the president wants?
That would not be my role. My role would be to carry out my oath, which would be to the Constitution first and foremost, and any other laws that bind the rules of decision.
So you're willing to rule against the administration, against Donald Trump's executive orders, if you believe them to be unlawful?
If that's what the law requires, Senator.
You are also an attorney at Williams & Connolly, is that correct?
That's correct.
And they represent Perkins Coie in the executive order case against that law firm, do they not?
I am aware of that fact.
Is it important that law firms be able to represent individuals or causes that are unpopular and that are at times in disagreement with the administration?
So certainly, as a lawyer who represents a client that has views that people don't always agree with, I think it's an important role of an attorney to take on matters no matter the political popularity.
So you think it's appropriate for law firms to take on cases against the administration?
I would not purport to limit any party in the representation that it would choose. and I don't want to be seen as commenting on any of the active litigation involving these issues.
And would you agree that it would be inappropriate for a president or administration to try to punish a law firm for taking on a client whose interest was adverse to the administration?
So, Senator, you're referencing, I believe, the pending litigation. And again, I've articulated why it's important for clients to have law firms.
I'm not referencing any particular case. I'm asking you as a general principle, should the President of the United States be able to retaliate against a law firm that takes a case for a client whose interest is adverse to the administration?
Again, embedded in the premise of that question is something that is referencing active litigation, and I just as a matter of prudence don't want to be seen as weighing in either way on whether that has occurred in any of these executive order cases. I stand by my answer that it is, of course, the role of a lawyer to represent clients consistent with the bounds of the law and ethics, and that's what I've tried to do in my role.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
The questioning began with a controversial statement from President Trump himself, where he described Leonard Leo, a key figure in the Federalist Society, as, in Trump's words, a sleazebag who probably hates America. Schiff used that as a springboard to ask Herendorf about her long-standing membership in the Federalist Society, whether she agreed with Trump's assessment, and if she believed the organization was under Leo's control. Herendorf's response was what we often see from judicial nominees. She praised the organization as a forum for legal discussion, but avoided making any political judgments. That's not surprising. Commenting on political disputes could later require her recusal if those individuals or groups came before her in court. For context, the Federalist Society is a conservative-leaning legal network that has played a major role in recommending judges for federal appointments, including many chosen by President Trump himself. Schiff's question seemed aimed at highlighting tension between Trump and the very organization that has helped shape his judicial picks. From an analyst perspective, Herendorf was careful. She acknowledged meeting Leonard Leo a few times, but said she didn't know him well. She didn't validate or dispute the president's criticism, a politically smart move for a nominee who may one day preside over cases involving the president's interests. The discussion then shifted to her time clerking for Judge Richard Leon, who has ruled against the Trump administration in the past. Schiff asked whether she agreed with Leon's decision that one of Trump's executive orders was unlawful. Herendorf declined to answer, citing pending litigation. This isn't about dodging the question. It's about preserving the principle that judges should not prejudge legal disputes that could still come before them. One of the most notable exchanges came when Schiff asked if her role as a judge would be to do what the president wants. Herendorf's answer was clear: absolutely not. She said her oath would be to the Constitution and the law, even if that meant ruling against the Trump administration. That a public reaffirmation of judicial independence, something vital to the separation of powers. Schiff also brought up her current work at Williams and Connolly, a firm representing Perkins Coie, in a case challenging one of Trump's executive orders. He asked whether it's appropriate for law firms to take on cases against the administration, and whether the president should be able to retaliate against them. Herendorf avoided commenting directly on that specific case, but stressed that lawyers must be able to represent clients, even unpopular ones, without fear of political consequences. That's a cornerstone of the legal system, ensuring everyone has access to representation. So here's my takeaway. This hearing was less about getting a nominee to spill political opinions and more about testing her judicial temperament. Herendorf showed discipline, kept her answers grounded in legal principles, and made it clear she would uphold the Constitution over political loyalty, even to the current president, whether you agree or disagree with her approach. That balancing act is part of the confirmation process. And in this political climate, it's no small feat.